I never believed in campus legends. Every university has them. Haunted dorms, ghostly professors, strange tunnels beneath the grounds. Most of them are recycled urban myths. But there was one story at my school in Pennsylvania that no one laughed about. People lowered their voices when it came up, as if just mentioning it too loudly might draw something closer. It was about the South Building. The place had been abandoned since the late 70s, condemned after a fire in one of the labs. The windows were boarded up, the doors locked, and most students didn't even know it existed. But if you took the maintenance path behind the library, you could still see the outline of the structure, rising behind a chain-link fence. What interested people wasn't the fire, though it was what supposedly remained inside. There were whispers of a stairwell that never ended. I heard it first during freshman year. A senior told us that anyone who managed to get inside would find a concrete stairwell, descending into darkness. No lights, no railing, just endless steps vanishing into the abyss. Some said they heard crying children the deeper they went. Others swore they saw a face staring at them from the shadows. A few even claimed people had gone down and never come back. At first I dismissed it, but over time the curiosity grew. The South Building was right there, practically daring me, and when I found out through an old facilities map that there really had been a stairwell in that wing, the story lodged itself into my brain and refused to leave. One night in October, when the campus was wrapped in fog, and the streets emptying out, after a football game, I decided to try. The fence wasn't hard to climb. Rust had eaten through whole sections, and I slipped through, scraping my arm. The building loomed above me, its brick blackened from the fire, its boarded windows like blind eyes. I circled until I found a back entrance where the boards had rotted enough to pry loose. The air inside smelled of mildew and ash. My flashlight beam cut through layers of dust, falling across old furniture, draped in tarps and a corridor, half collapsed from neglect. I almost turned back, but then I saw the sign. Stairwell access, basement. It was half buried behind fallen plaster, but the arrow still pointed left. My heartbeat quickened. I followed deeper into the South Building until the hallway ended in a heavy steel door. Strangely, it wasn't locked. It swung open with a groan. The concrete stairwell yawned before me. It looked wrong. The space was too narrow, the walls bare gray, the steps uneven as though they had been poured hastily. The first flight disappeared into shadow after maybe 15 steps, though the shaft itself seemed to drop endlessly. I shone my flashlight down, but the beam faded long before touching bottom. Something about the acoustics made the silence oppressive. My breathing echoed back at me in strange ways, as if the stairwell was alive and listening. I swallowed hard. I told myself I'd go down just one flight, just enough to say I'd been there, just enough to prove the legend was an exaggeration. I stepped inside. The door slammed shut behind me. I don't know how much time had passed. Down there in that endless shaft of stairs, time didn't move the same way. Minutes bled into hours, and hours felt like days. The only measure I had was the weight in my legs, the dryness in my throat, and the dread that grew heavier with every step. After what felt like forever, I sat down on one of the steps, trying to catch my breath. The air was damp and heavy, carrying a faint smell like old copper pipes mixed with something rotting. I thought about going back up, but every time I turned my head, the stairs behind me looked longer than I remembered. It was as if they stretched farther the moment I stopped looking. And then I heard it again. The same sound I'd heard before, crying. But this time it was closer, clearer. It wasn't the wail of a child anymore. It was raspier, broken, like someone forcing air through a torn throat. It echoed down the stairwell, bouncing between the concrete walls, making it impossible to tell how far below me it was. I held my flashlight tighter and forced myself to keep moving. Step by step, the sound pulled me down. My light caught glimpses of stains on the walls, brownish, smears that stretched downward, as though someone had been dragged. I stopped at one landing because something caught my eye, a dark shape crouched in the corner. At first I thought it was just a pile of trash or maybe broken concrete. But then it moved, slowly, deliberately. "Hello?" I called out before I could stop myself. The figure straightened. My light trembled across it, and I realized it was a man or something that had once been a man. His skin looked stretched, pale, almost translucent. His eyes bulged in the beam of my flashlight, wide and glossy, and his mouth hung open in a permanent scream, but no sound came out. I stumbled back, my heart pounding, but the figure didn't advance. It only stood there, quivering, as if waiting for something. Then, in one jerky movement, it collapsed back into the corner, curling into itself like a dying insect. I didn't want to pass it, but there was no way back. I swallowed hard, kept my flashlight trained on it, and stepped around as far as the narrow landing would let me. For a moment I thought I was safe, but as soon as I set foot on the next set of stairs I heard it. Not crying, not screaming, whispering. It was coming from behind me. I didn't dare look back. The stairwell twisted deeper. By then, I had lost count of the floors. Each landing looked the same cracked walls, same rusted pipes, same suffocating air. But one detail began to change. The walls weren't just stained anymore. They were carved. At first I thought it was graffiti, random scratches made by bored students. Maybe gang tags. But no, these were faces, hundreds of them, shallow engravings of human faces, all distorted, screaming, crying, twisted in agony. I ran my fingers along one, and the concrete was jagged, rough, as if clawed into place by bare hands. The deeper I went, the fresher they looked, almost wet, as if someone had carved them minutes before I arrived. That was when I started hearing more than just crying. Footsteps. Not mine. Sometimes they came from above me, sometimes below. The slow, deliberate sound of bare feet slapping against concrete. And each time I froze, the sound froze too. When I moved, it moved, always keeping its distance. By then, I knew I wasn't alone. The thing on the landing was just the beginning. I should have turned back. God, I should have. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something down there was waiting for me. Something I had to see. Eventually, I reached a landing that was different. The door. All the previous landings had plain, empty walls. But this one had a door, metal and heavy, set into the concrete. A corroded plaque above it read, Level B7. My flashlight reflected off its scratched surface, and I saw the number 087 faintly etched into the rust. The crying was louder here, right behind the door. My hands trembled as I reached out. The knob was ice-cold, slick with condensation. I pressed my ear against it and nearly dropped my flashlight. The crying wasn't a child's. It wasn't even human. It was something imitating us, trying to sound like us. And then it laughed. I don't know how much time passed. Hours, maybe days. The concept of time doesn't exist on those stairs. Hunger gnawed at my stomach, and my throat burned from thirst. But the overwhelming dread was stronger than any physical need. The stairs never ended. Down and down, always the same cold concrete, the same rusty railings, the same low, suffocating ceiling. My flashlight beam shook in my trembling hands, but the darkness beyond its reach never changed, except for the sounds. That childlike crying, it hadn't stopped. Sometimes it sounded close, just a few steps below me, echoing softly like a real boy or girl trapped in the darkness. Other times it seemed impossibly far away, a faint wail fading into the abyss. But there was something new now. Breathing. At first I thought it was mine, ragged, panicked, desperate. But no, this was deeper, steadier. A long inhale, a slow exhale. The kind of sound lungs make when they're too large to belong to a person. And it was below me. I froze, the beam of my flashlight trembling against the wall. My instincts screamed to turn back, to run up the stairs, but I already knew what would happen. I had tried before. Running upward just took me deeper down. The rules here didn't follow the real world. The only way was down. I pressed forward step by step, my shoes scraping against concrete. The breathing grew louder. The crying had stopped completely. Then, a shape. At first it looked like another landing. A flat, empty square in the endless descent. But when my light hit it, I saw something crouched at the edge. It wasn't a child. It was long, too long. Its arms stretched across the entire width of the landing, thin and pale, almost bone-like. Its back was hunched, vertebrae sticking out beneath ashen skin. Its head hung low, hair hanging like rotting strands of seaweed. And it was waiting. The flashlight flickered. My chest tightened. The creature lifted its head slowly, painfully, as if it hadn't moved in years. And then I saw its face, or lack of one. There were holes where eyes should be, deep, black pits that seemed to suck the light out of the air. Its mouth stretched too wide, far beyond human anatomy. A permanent scream frozen into its features. That was when the crying started again. Not from below, from behind me. I whipped around, the beam flashing over the stairs above. Nothing, just concrete and shadow. But the wail was unmistakable, echoing down toward me. When I turned back, the creature was gone. My stomach lurched. I aimed the flashlight downward, sweeping the landing, the walls, the stairs below. Nothing. Only the sound of breathing, now surrounding me, vibrating through the air like the very stairwell itself was alive. I didn't want to keep going, but standing still was worse. I forced myself downward. 1 flight, 2, 3. My legs burned. My heart pounded. And then another landing, but this time it wasn't empty. There were doors, 3 of them, lined up across the far wall. Rusted, heavy metal doors, each with a number etched into the surface. The first read 0871, the second 0872, the third 0873. I approached, my hand trembling as I reached out toward the nearest handle. The air around the doors was colder, so cold my skin ached. My breath misted in front of me. Then something banged from the other side. A single deafening slam that rattled the entire stairwell. I stumbled back, nearly dropping my flashlight. The sound came again, harder, like something massive was throwing itself against the metal. The doors shook. Dust rained down from the ceiling. And then, from behind the doors, I heard voices. Not one, dozens. Some whispered my name. Some screamed. Some begged. All of them overlapping, all of them clawing for my attention. My vision blurred. My heart hammered in my ears. And in that moment I realized something with sickening clarity. These weren't just doors. They were cells, and whatever was inside wanted out.